Welcome to episode number 22 of the Riverfront Bengals Show, where we come to you every week and talk about, pretty much everything in Bengals land. We're going to do things a little bit differently this week. We typically only have a Thursday show, but it's playoff season, baby. The team's out there working harder. We got to work a little harder for them. So we're coming at you. You'll be seeing this on Tuesday to talk about Cincinnati's 27-10 demolition of the Buffalo Bills. I'm Nate Dotson. He's Joe Farfsing. We're your hosts. Joe, how the hell are you? That was fun, wasn't it?
That was anticlimactic, man, and I'm all here for it. What's
You're
going
right,
on in your world? Yeah.
It was so weird, just like sitting back the last several minutes of the fourth quarter and not having to freak the hell out. And I loved it. I wish every game was like that. I guess where do we start? How did you feel last night in the moments following that win? What was going through your mind?
I mean, I'm almost speechless. Almost. I mean, anyone who knows me knows I've got a lot to say.
That's true.
Kept waiting for Josh Allen to go superhuman and kind of will the Bills back into the game. It never happened. And again, like I said, it was anticlimactic. There was a three-score game, and everyone kind of thought like, oh, it's going to take a couple turnovers. Josh Allen's going to put the ball up. It wasn't until the game was well out of reach when he finally threw an interception. And then it's like, oh, cool. That's awesome. That just means the Bengals get to kneel it out instead of having desperate heaves at the to run the clock out. So
yeah, it was almost like they used Josh Allen's propensity to play hero ball against him. We know he can do it. He can drag them from the depths and pull them back into a game. But they weren't going to let that happen. They were going to say, hey, go ahead and try. We've got everything figured out already. The one thing that jumped out to me and something that we have talked about so many times on this show is they played four full quarters.
Yeah.
They've been playing these half games almost every week this season, it seems like. And they were there from the first snap until the very last. They got that, essentially game-ending turnover there towards the end. And boom, Cincinnati is going to the AFC Championship game in back-to-back seasons for the first time ever. It was beautiful, man.
Yeah, this is the first time since 1976 that any team from Cincinnati has gone to back-to-back. We'll say semifinals. I mean, the Reds were in the 75 and 76 NLCS. Obviously, they won the title both years. But yeah, I mean, it's a long time coming, and it's again just that feeling that there was so much elation last year. Every win, every game was 3 points. They won each game, or one score game, and you're holding on to the seat of your pants till the end of the game. And even last week, it was a weird game, but it was kind of, Bengals are going to do this. It's okay. Like this team has been through this. They're going to win these close games. Yeah, I mean, it might be closer than what you want, but there's as a fan, I mean, the players have the utmost confidence, and they're here for it. But as a fan, you're like, it's all right. Like they're going to roll. They're going to make the plays. The other team's going to make the mistakes. Going back to Josh Allen and his game plan, kind of using it against him, it's almost as if, and the weather didn't help because you can't go, you can't fire deep 20 times a game, playing in snow and sleet that nobody was able to get any good footing. They almost played not to screw up the Bills on. They played a pretty conservative game plan, and it considering how much the pass rush was getting in on Allen throughout the game, and they only had one sack, but he was hurried and he had to move off his spot a lot. They had to move to a more almost Bengal-like, just getting rid of the ball fast underneath, and that's not what Burrow that's not what Allen excels at. So they completely made them change their game plan.
That's right. That's a really good point. The difference in the initial game plan was striking. Buffalo was running it early and having zero success whatsoever. I think they ended the game with like 13 rushes for 39 yards or something like that. Whereas Cincinnati came out and they were taking everything Buffalo was giving them. They averaged 5.8 yards per play on first down. So they were starting at second and short almost all game long. And, everybody wondered if that hot start in the Week 17 game that got postponed for obvious reasons, if that was going to be a flash in the pan or a sign of things to come. And it sure seemed like a sign in this one. everybody thinks that, oh, it's Buffalo. They're a cold weather team. They got Josh Allen, this big physical quarterback, that this style of game was going to better suit the Bills. And that's nonsense, man. That is just straight BS. This Cincinnati team, far tougher, far grittier, and just built to grind you down in a way that that Buffalo team was not. So once that snow started really pouring, I was excited.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to use the term finesse because that's people kind of use that as derogatory. That's what everyone thought the Bengals were last year until they hit the playoffs and showed that they can kind of grind games out. But the Bills kind of outed themselves as a finesse team. You play an outdoor, you need to be able to win games in the trenches when you figure that you're going to have 2 or 3 games, come December and in January, that you're going to have a couple home games that are going to be played in crappy conditions. And that team isn't prepared to do that. They have decent running backs, nobody, no difference makers. Your best running back is your quarterback, and you don't want to keep running the guy that, that big. He's going to break down. You have one good wide receiver, and Diggs is great, but behind him, I mean, Gabe Davis, great. He made all this, made a lot of noise in the playoffs last year, and then last
nobody's ever garnered a bigger reputation off one game.
Yeah,
than Gabe Davis.
Exactly. I mean, he's like there is the who's got the better 1-2 receiving core, the Bengals or the Bills, and you're like, really?
Get out of here.
I mean, Gabe Davis is okay. He'd be the fourth or fifth receiver on the Bengals.
Yeah, for sure.
If you were wearing the stripes. And again, he's fine with it. They outed themselves as one-dimensional finesse. Let Allen kind of run around behind the pocket and either make throw something deep downfield when the play breaks down, or go for a run. And if you can keep them from doing that, they don't have the horses to keep up.
Yeah, and this is not to really trash on the Buffalo Bills. They had a great season. They were a great team. Also, were fighting through some tough injuries, some just difficult situations off the field, and they're going to be right there again next year.
Will they?
But they should be.
I mean, you have a quarterback.
This game certainly showed that they have some question marks they need to address in the offseason.
Yeah, you have a quarterback. You're going to be there contending, but you see, like, they don't have a very good offensive line. Their defensive line got pushed around. Von Miller isn't going to help them from getting run over 170 yards, on the ground. They're going to run more if Von Miller's in the game. They were kind of decimated in their safety room, and they had 4 or 5 guys out. Poyer, Hyde, Hamlin, obviously, a couple, Marlowe, a couple other guys went out, but that's every team has injuries. Bengals were down 3 offensive linemen, and they had their
nobody has more. Nobody has more than Cincinnati, so not going to hear that.
Yeah,
the chip that this Bengals team plays with on their shoulder is what has separated them so many times this season, and it sure seemed like the case this game. Yeah. They feel like they deserve more than they're getting. Obviously, we'll get into the couple of overturned calls in this game that I thought were nonsense. At least one of them specifically. And I don't know, does it seem to you that this team is just playing angry?
Yeah, I mean, they've become a 53-man manifestation of the Michael Jordan, and I took that personally meme. Every little slide, and yeah, beautiful. And again, a lot of this is nonsense. I mean, the NFL isn't conspiring against them. Yeah, the NFL had to sell tickets to the championship game because there's a lot of logistical, bullshit they have to hop through, but they didn't have to go out and broadcast it very proudly that they sold 50,000 tickets. Let's wait for Monday before we start broadcasting how well the tickets have been selling. But I mean, this is, you internalize and you build narratives and you make yourself the underdog. That's how, it's annoying as an outsider. I mean, you hear all this stuff that Jordan took personally, and it turns out all of this shit that supposedly drove him and slights that people said to him, or absolute bullshit. He completely fabricated it. But
yeah, a lot of them were only true in his own mind.
Yeah, exactly. If that's what gets you going, if that's if that's what it takes, go for it. Again, I'm happy as hell if the Bengals become the most hated team in the league because they sound like they're complaining or talk about disrespect. If they win, I don't give a shit. I'm happy to be the team that everybody hates instead of the team that everybody pities. We've got that going on down the street.
Right. Come on, low blow. But super true. But what
Warranted.
I'm really, really loving about all this is the narrative is switching. At least from a like dislike standpoint, people aren't really hating on Cincinnati. Maybe the NFL is. Maybe Roger can tell a little bit. Probably not. But the people I talk to, fans of other teams, get so much joy out of watching this team. And we've been everybody that follows this team has been saying it all year. They're fun. They get along. They seem to really, really like and care for each other. And they absolutely have the potential to go all the way. That said, let's jump into some of the things that stood out to us on offense and defense real quick. First, let's just get it out of the way right now. The score could have been worse.
Yeah.
That was a touchdown. I guess by the rules, you can convince me that perhaps that's not a touchdown, but I don't get it. My problem maybe isn't with it being overturned so much as it is with the rules.
Part of it is how long, what granular detail did you have to go in for the review or for the replay? Because that took forever. How long? If you're taking 5 minutes to review something, then it's not obvious enough. I get it. Before he got that second foot down, he got 3 steps in. Before he got that second foot down, Milano had his hand on it, kind of spun it a little bit. He regained it, fell down, and it's like he caught the goddamn ball. I mean,
He caught the ball.
At some point, just the common sense of, did he catch the ball and get 2 feet in? Yes, he did. And again,
if you could ask an unbiased observer sitting at the end of a bar stool, whether that was a catch or not, somebody that didn't care about either game, either team, they're going to say that's a catch every single time.
Yeah, and it's dumb. It's because you're adding so many elements to what's a catch that they have 20 things to look for. And did he catch the fucking ball? Did he have 2 feet in bounds? Ball didn't come out when he hit the ground. Ball didn't come out when Milano got a hand on it. Whatever. They ended up scoring 3, and it wasn't even. The play didn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things anyway. But
you heard Jamar Chase say after the game, he goes, "Yeah, we weren't surprised that they overturned it. Yeah. They're even using that to add to that chip on their shoulder." Which I love.
He even said, he's like, "Yeah, the ball moved a little bit." So and he's obviously he's going to say again because they're going to use that chip, but it's what's a catch? Let's just make it crystal clear what the hell is a catch. It's dumb.
Yeah. If it's awesome and people are going nuts about how awesome it is, maybe let it stand because this is an entertainment product. But on top of that, one thing I want to get to real quick, and we will jump all over the offensive line. I don't want you to talk about that here because I think you might have some things to say about it here in a little bit. But for me, this is the game where Joe Burrow officially put the league on notice. I actually heard some talking heads this morning saying that he is better than Patrick Mahomes. People are actually starting to claim this now. Obviously, not many, not most.
Yeah.
But I heard it for the first time. And we've known it. We've been watching this guy every week. But what he's doing out there it's insane. He started the game out hitting 9 out of his first 9 passes, 6 different receivers. Could have been 10 out of 10 if not for that drop, finishing with 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, and a 101.9 passer rating. The guy was just unbelievable. And my favorite stat of many crazy stats that came out of this game, Joe Burrow is now tied in playoff victories with every other quarterback in Cincinnati Bengals history combined.
and what's funny is, what's funny is there are 2 Super Bowl teams. It's not as if the Bengals never went to the Super Bowl. And this isn't the Browns, who's never ever had any postseason success in the Super Bowl era. They made
whoa. Let's take this opportunity. Suck it, Browns. Okay, sorry, had to get that
out. But yeah, he's 5-1. Zach Taylor's 5-1 as a head coach. He's got the second best record through 6 games of a playoff career of any coach in NFL history. They're reaching rarefied air now. Again, they need to finish it, punch it in, win next week, and then go and go win a title for the first time. But this is turning into, again, I don't want to say dynasties. Dynasties are impossible outside of some freak genetic mutant that Tom Brady is that can play forever, But this is clearly a team that's going to be around. As Joe Burrow said, windows open as long as he's here.
That's right. And I'm glad you added that qualifier about the dynasty because important to remember, this team hasn't won shit yet.
Yep. Yep.
And this may be the year. We don't know. I'm never going to feel too confident, going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, much less if whoever they have to face in the NFC. But I do feel like these are the 4 best teams remaining, which is kind of awesome for the league, for the product. What else stood out to you on the offensive side of the ball?
On the first touchdown pass to Chase, he had 8.3 yards of separation from the nearest defender. That's 25 feet. There was no defender within 25 feet of Jamar Chase. This isn't like Mike Thomas, the receiver, or Trent Taylor or Trenton Irwin, a guy you can dismiss. This is like...
Yeah, you don't forget about Jamar Chase.
Yeah, Jamar Chase is wide receiver 1. He's one of the 5 best wide receivers in the league. And just the complete busted coverage, awesome game plan. You might want to guard that guy. You might want to put 2 or 3 guys on him and take your chances with Higgins and Boyd and Trenton Irwin and Hayden Hurst and Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine. Holy shit, they've got a lot of playmakers.
Leaving Jamar Chase 25 feet open seems like a good opportunity to bust this out.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
It did not pay off for him.
Did not.
That paid off 6 yards, so or 6 points. I'm happy for that. And then on the running game, again, Burrow was just efficient. Like he wasn't explosive. He threw the ball deep. Best of my knowledge, I think he only threw 1 go ball. It was a pass interference. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he just kept it manageable because the running game was fantastic. Mixon and Perine both ran with a chip on their shoulder. Perine always runs angry. He's got. I said yesterday, tweeted out yesterday, he's got sequoias attached to his hips. Like those thighs are like, way too, for a guy who's that short and stocky, you can't just bring him down with one person because he just has that leg drive. He's going to fall forward. He's in
the thick boy club. We like guys in the thick boy club.
Yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't have the breakaway burst that Mixon has, but he's also not going to, he's going to move that pile. He's going to fall forward every single time. And then back on Burrow, buried this one. His first 14 completions, 8 different receivers. That's spreading the wealth.
Yeah, we've seen him do that a couple times, a handful of times this season, and it seems like every time that happens early, the offense is going to be clicking. When he's seeing the field like that, the way he was looking receivers off, the creativity, which is something we haven't really seen a ton of this season from Zach Taylor and his offensive. They were all over it. Misdirection left and right. The way they're getting Jamar Chase lining up, back there with the running backs, it was fun and it was effective.
Yeah, and when you do that, you're going to make the defense tip their hand as to what they're going to play. Either put them in jet motion and behind there, or line them up in the backfield and have them split out. They're going to have to tip their field or tip their hand. And he's getting a free release if he's going out on routes from back there. He's getting a free release. No one's getting a hand on him until so he's that's only going to help his route running at all. It's clear that they held a lot back for the past month. Not that they were vanilla or anything like that, but these aren't plays that they just started working on this week. This is stuff that they've had and wanted to hold on to until they came up with a team to where they need it. And I would expect some more similar, let's say, excitement, or at least unique sets and routes and everything this week coming up against the Chiefs. Again, you can say you want the Bengals are 3-0 against them. Chiefs are still a damn good team. So.
Oh, yeah. And they're still favorites. We'll get to a little bit later, and definitely a lot more later in this week. One more stat on Joe Mixon, only his second 100-yard rushing game of the season. I don't think anybody would have expected that to happen. People sort of expected it to be similar to last year when you didn't hear a lot from him down the stretch. He was out there as a threat, but not one they were really using too much. And I think it was the difference maker this game, the way that he was able to pick up big yardage early in series and just get those first downs. It was a first down fest. That's my holy shit stat of the week, that the Cincinnati offense had 30 first downs on 69 plays, excluding kneel downs. And that's just ungodly success and efficiency. By the end of the first quarter, the Bengals had more first downs than the Bills had yards.
It was a nice amount of plays, by the way.
Hey-o.
My my fancy stat of the week is next gen stats, and I just pulled this up and put this on Slack and Twitter a little bit ago. Next gen stats are the fastest ball carriers of the game, and obviously, no one's going to be breaking out with all the snow and the slippery conditions, and there were no huge plays by either team. But Joey Jets himself had the two fastest sprint speeds of any player on any player in that game yesterday. At 18.88 on the 21-yard scramble there at the end of the first half when they were trying to scramble down and get a field goal or a Hail Mary shot, and he got hit 18.5, I believe, on another 9-yard scramble. So
just how everybody expected, just what we all thought would happen.
Yeah. He can hold that over Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon for a week, that he's the fastest Bengal of the divisional round. So
I love it. The offense was just clicking. It was obvious from the get-go that they had something that was going to work, and it didn't stop working. For the first time in what seems like forever, it didn't stop working all game long. But they played pretty well on the other side of the ball too. I'm not sure if you noticed, but for me, pressure was the name of the game. That defensive line made Josh Allen uncomfortable just about the entire time. He was pressured on 20 of 47 throws, and they just couldn't run the ball whatsoever. What jumped out to you defensively?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same. It was on both sides of the ball. Actually, this was a game that was absolutely Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor's offensive game plan and Lou Anarumo's defensive game plan. No player had a superlative game. It's not like anyone had a 3-sack performance or, a bunch of interceptions, pass deflections, whatever. Everyone just played well because they're very well coached. They're very, they've got a lot of talent clearly, but the schemes and how consistent the players are in that scheme. There was no space to throw the ball because everyone had everyone covered. No one had to make any, outside of the one Cam Taylor-Britt. Diggs had him beat on a route, and Allen underthrew it a little bit, and Taylor-Britt ran back up to the play and batted it away because he's got really good speed. There really weren't a lot of spectacular plays. Mike Hilton had 4 rushes or 5 rushes. Like, you've got that stat. Sorry, I'm stealing your thunder a little bit here.
No, that's a great one.
Yeah, he had 5 total pass rushes, 4 pressures on those pass rushes. The one, it was the fumble, not fumble, Mac Jones bullshit again. What's a fumble? What's a incomplete pass? He absolutely folded Josh Allen in half. He knocked the guy, again, he's 6'5", 6'6", however he is, 250 pounds, knocked him to the ground and sent him to the sidelines. I'm actually really confused how he was allowed to come back in the game because he went to the medical tent. He didn't miss a play because they did the review, and then he came back in. Like, I guess they didn't actually have to stop the play for him. But, yeah, again, those two guys throw their body, Mike Hilton and Cam Taylor-Britt, use their bodies like heat-seeking missiles. They might be the best tackling tandem in the league. Eli Apple's okay, but between those other guys, they're not. You're not going to break a tackle from those two guys. If they're taking down tight ends, they're taking down horse-like quarterbacks. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things about this defense, and there are plenty of things to like. Is they get up there and they'll just poleaxe dudes. They'll hit you right in the mouth as hard as they can. And they don't miss a lot of tackles. They fly around the field in a way that's super fun to watch. And I think that if you're an opposing quarterback leading up to a game against Cincinnati, Mike Hilton's just haunting your dreams.
Yep.
Like, when he's on the field, half the time he'll tell you that he's coming and he'll still get to you. It's been ridiculous to watch, and I love it. But we gotta give credit where credit's due, man. And that goes to my boy Lou Anarumo. Yeah. We have been sort of leading this DJ Reader for President campaign, and still well-deserved PFF's highest-rated guy this week. But maybe he needs to be VP on the ticket to Lou Anarumo's POTUS. The way they've just adapted to different styles, different teams, different game plans all year is insane. They almost never showed the same coverage twice on the same drive yesterday. So there's no getting comfortable. There's no learning from what you've been seeing and getting better throughout the game, because they're changing it up, not just half to half, but constantly throughout the game. Ben Solak over at the Ringer had an awesome stat, and it was good to great quarterbacks. I think elite to almost elite was where he said the last 2 years versus Lou's defenses, have an average EPA, that's expected points added, of negative 0.03.
Yeah, they
So
all turn into Mac
against-
Jones.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Patrick Mahomes, the quarterbacks you use, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, and 2021 Aaron Rodgers into Mac Jones. Jesus Christ. I don't know why teams haven't called him for a head coaching job, but please do not. Just leave him alone. He's fine. He's happy. You don't want him.
See, I am conflicted because I want the guy to stay here as long as he wants, but he deserves that head coaching bag right there. The amount, like how well he can game plan, how well the players absolutely love him. He deserves that head coaching paycheck.
Give him the paycheck just as a defensive coordinator.
If the Brown Blackburn family want to figure out a way to pay him like a head coach, it's weird because Brian Callahan's getting his name whispered around. He interviewed with the Colts the other day, and he interviewed last year with the Broncos. He's gotten some rub. Anarumo's name hasn't been mentioned once for a head coaching gig, and again, he's going to get bypassed this year. At this point, I think most of the candidates are known. A lot of these coaches want to have want to make their hires, unless it's some surprise out of the blue candidate. Most, they want these guys lined up and hired here short term so they can start getting their staffs together for the college all-star games, the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. So
right,
he'll be around another year. And again, great for the defense. Again, the dude deserves a head coaching paycheck. He deserves a job. But he's more than welcome to stay here as long as he wants.
As long as he wants. It wouldn't surprise anybody if a few team owners watched that game and were like, why have I not heard of this guy as a candidate before?
Everybody wants the young offensive coordinator guru. That's what Zach Taylor is, Sean McVay. A lot of these coaches are offensive coaches, and the older defensive guy is, kind of getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, don't forget about the guru because you're searching for the prodigy.
Yeah.
Or continue to. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
The only other person I want to shout out real quick it was really nice to see some positive contributions from Dax Hill.
Yeah.
He had a couple really good plays. You saw the athleticism, you saw the speed, and we haven't had many reasons to say good things about Dax throughout this season, mainly because he wasn't playing a lot outside of special teams, where he was playing well. But he had an atrocious game against Baltimore, and for him to come back and make a few big plays in high leverage moments was awesome to see.
Yeah.
Other than that, we are going to jump real quick to our stud of the week, and that's because it's something that we did not talk about, which was arguably the biggest storyline going into this game. Let me get my girl Vicky Valancourt in here and see if she wants to say anything about it.
Hey, stud.
Vicky does want to say. Who's she saying hey to, Joe?
That is the entire offensive line. Jackson Carman, Cordell Volson, Ted Karras playing injured, Max Sharping, Hakeem Adeniji, Dante Smith coming in as the extra lineman. Those guys played they played with their asses on fire. They played with an edge. Everyone played with an edge, but especially the line. They were nasty. It was the third and two play. Tossed to Mixon on the outside. Jamar Chase even got a good block on this one. Jackson Carman rode his guy out of bounds, shoved him. The guy slid 5 yards in the snow. It was just an absolute sight to see. That guy, he wants to bury. He gets his hands on you. He wants to bury you. He's going to be he's going to struggle against speed rushes around the end, but they played their ass off. They had 0 sacks credited to the offensive line. The only sack that there was on Burrow because he held on to it a little too long. Milano got him for a 2-yard loss. Gave him time, even when they got beat a little bit. Gave Burrow lanes to step up in the touchdown drive wide open. Burrow stepped up in the pocket, and he had nobody. There was wide in front of him. He could have run for 10 yards if Chase wasn't booty butt naked open. And then the running game feasted for the first time in a long time. 172 yards. 5.1 yards per carry. It was up over 5.5 yards till midway point in the fourth quarter when they started to just try to milk the clock. Still ended 5.1. That's for guys that were, everyone was cringing, and we were concerned. Not, you know, again,
Yeah.
I mean, in our, you know, our preview last week, I mean, like it's not going to kill a team, but I mean, they're going to have to win.
I was scared to death. I was scared to death.
I wasn't, because I knew the opponent wasn't a good pass rushing team. But it's something to still be concerned about. You figure, you know, they might struggle being able to get the run game going, and, you know, one guy busts free and, you know, causes an interception or a fumble or something to ruin the game. But none of that happened. Like they were fantastic. They were lights out.
Yeah, it wasn't
cohesive. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll say it wasn't Cincinnati's quarterback that got sacked 7 times this game.
Yeah,
it was the offensive line that didn't have any concerns.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
couldn't protect their quarterback.
Exactly, and it was about as cohesive as an offensive line performance as we've seen all year.
Yeah,
and that's part of the other thing you worry about with all these new guys, on how cohesive it took the 5 guys that they had. They played together for 15 games. It took them 5, 6, 7 weeks to get together as a unit before they actually started to resemble the offense that we see now. And these guys, you know, credit to Frank Pollock and the backups for getting, you know, for working together and you know, looking like they've been playing together all year long.
Yeah, that was a wild fact. I'm glad you mentioned that. It might have been the best performance out of the offensive line as a unit that we've seen all season long.
Yeah,
it's crazy. They gave up the 1 sack for -2 yards. The average PFF grade for these guys going into this game was 48.7. And I think they were all either upper 50s or low 60s in this game, or in the 60s in this game. They all played, you know, average or better. And not in a million years did I think that was going to be the case. I don't know if it's because, you know, even as backups in the NFL, the reason they're backups is because they're, you know, not as well-rounded, right? So they're often bigger guys who can still be effective in the run game. And we definitely saw a lot of that. Maybe it's because Jackson Carman was playing a position that he hasn't played in the NFL, but he's really comfortable with playing there at tackle the whole time in college. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was lightning in a bottle. I don't know if we'll ever see it again. I don't know. We'll have to. If we'll have to, we'll see what the injury report looks like later in the week. But those guys deserve all the credit in the world when the number one talking point for a week is how the team has pretty much no chance. I mean, they're almost 6-point underdogs against Buffalo, and they came out and won the battle at the line for 4 quarters. It was awesome.
Yeah, they beat the Buffaloes in Jamar Chase speak. And it's funny because the linemen, they've got different strengths. Hakeem Adeniji is extremely athletic. He gets beat because he's not strong enough. He doesn't have a big enough base. But you see him pulling around, and there was a run play up the middle. He absolutely folded, I think it was the safety that came up, and he folded him in half and just crushed him to the ground. Carman is just pure power. Again, he's not quick enough to get speed guys around the edge, but he was fantastic. Just mauling guys at the line. Sharping's another big, more of a mauler than But yeah, I mean, they've used what these guys' strengths are to help the team as a whole, and that's just the product of great coaching, great game planning. Zach Taylor still will never get enough because even with all of this, you still see some of these national guys. And listen to Bill Simmons' podcast this morning, and he's like, "I still have questions about Zach Taylor as a play caller." What the fuck are you looking at? Like, are you not watching these games? This is a team that, again, everybody thinks is going to get their absolute steamrolled. Missing 3 linemen, and the schemes, the play to get Hayden Hurst on the touchdown, ran a fake screen to Jamar Chase so that the linebacker would bite. Hey, Hurst is wide ass open because they schemed him open because he's a great fucking play caller. He's a great schemer. Every coach is going to make dumb plays. Imagine if you're a Cowboys fan right now and you got Mike McCarthy on a last play of the game. I don't even know. Like, I wasn't watching at that point. I watched part of the game and I turned it off because it was just kind of a boring game. And I just see social media kind of going wild. Like, why is Zeke Elliott lined up as a center? I'm like, running back.
I'll take Zach Taylor over Mike McCarthy any day of the week.
Right. And then you look and he's got all the linemen split out. You probably don't remember, but it was back in the Hugh Jackson days. He would run these formations. He would have the tackles lined up outside the numbers, out by wide receivers, and just have a 3-man line. You'd have just the 2 guards in the center, and you'd have these tackles out for screens or whatever, just to run decoys. And like you think like, wow, that's a interesting look, and then the shit never works. Like, don't outthink yourself. Again, why are we questioning? Again, he's not Vince Lombardi, he's not Bill Belichick, but he's a pretty goddamn good coach. Can we stop looking for things to to nitpick at him? Let's have him like lose and like shit the bed a bunch of times. He was 6-27-1 because he had shitty players around him, or 6-25-1 his first 2 years because the Bengals roster was terrible, and then he gets his first round draft pick and his knee gets blown out midway through his second season. It's not because he couldn't coach; it's because he had shitty players around him. He's got good players, and look what he does. Can we stop trying to nitpick the guy? I don't trust him as a play caller.
And if you tune in on Thursday, Joe will tell you how he really feels.
Trying to restrain myself here. I mean, I got to work this up for a week. I mean, it's a long week until 6:30 on Sunday.
No, you're 100% right, though. I've certainly given Zach Taylor plenty of gruff over the last couple of years myself, and I'm done. I'm officially retired from any Zach Taylor bashing. He has earned that right. You don't take the team to back-to-back AFC Championship games for the first time in team history and still get crap from me, nor should anybody else. But so like I said, we are still going to be coming back next Thursday for our regularly scheduled show. We're looking forward to the Bengals. They opened up as 1.5 or 1.5 point road underdogs against the Chiefs in a rematch of last year's AFC title game. I can't wait to dive into it and talk more about that. Joe, do you have any last words before we go ahead and sign off for the week?
Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. If you follow us on TikTok, Nate will do a dance to whatever the popular TikTok thing is of the week. He will do one of those. I'll do one of those cooking stitch longs. If you see people, you ever watch the videos where people cook this crazy shit and they yell about it? I'm more than happy to do one of those.
I have always wanted to be a TikTok influencer since the day I was born. So let's make it happen, guys. Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We are either at TR Bengals Show or at Riverfront Cincy. Please give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, any of those places, all of those places. If you're listening to this late at night, go wake your kids up. Tell them to follow us because we're great. Why wouldn't you want to? You can hear Joe all the time, multiple times per week. Now, this is wild. Yeah. What an opportunity.
I like me. I mean, I'm a good guy.
I like Joe at least sometimes.
I'm the funniest guy.
Also.
Yeah, I'm the funniest guy in this room.
No argument here. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Can't wait to do this again in a couple days. And most importantly, who day?
Who day?